Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks. Today taking a look at the version 1.0 of All That Glitters. I felt like maybe it would be nice to take a look at the version 1.0 since we just had that video come out about the version 2.0 change. So we'll get right into this exciting game submitted from one of the very own viewers of this channel. Potato44, I believe, is the one who submitted this replay for us today. So thank you, Potato. And let's take a look at what happens in this match. Today, for our blue team, spawning in the northern half of All That Glitters version 1.0, Greedomorph playing a frontline position on the eastern side, meaning that he's going to be going up against the Rocky Canyons, which is the harder lane to hold for the players in red here, Emlair and My Brain Hurts. So we'll have to see what happens there. And for our red team, our red player, Ollie2KO. 2000? We'll call him Ollie 2000. Sounds about right. Ollie 2000. Spawning in the backline position here. Maybe going to go for some tech or maybe air, however it goes. Well, actually, I guess I shouldn't say maybe. A word of note, a word of advice. Make sure before you record any of your content that you enable your microphone. Turn on your settings so that your microphone is actually recorded. That way you don't record a 40-minute long cast of a game with absolutely no vocal audio. Might be a bit of might save you a little bit of trouble there. I booted it up, went in to edit the recording, and then I realized my voice was nowhere to be found. Maybe some of you might enjoy that. Some silent casts, but that would put me out of a job, so why don't we stick to keeping me around? I would greatly appreciate it. But that does mean I've sort of inadvertently spoiled this game for myself, but I still want to show it to you guys because I think it's an interesting one. I think there's a lot of good notes to highlight here, and I think it should be very fun to take a look at. So let's get into the early game strategy here. Now, Greedomorph has made quite a few ticks. I'm going to be sending these around, trying to harass his lane. You can see they're routed around this way. You can actually, on this version, not version 2.0, but on this version, there's this tiny little lane right here, and you can actually sneak ticks through here. You sort of have to manually tell them to do it. But if you can do that, they can actually sneak through here and run all the way through this back lane into the enemy base. Sometimes you can get a nice advantage that way. Something to be aware of if you're playing on version 1 of this map as opposed to version 2, where these hills are much higher, and that is not quite possible. Ollie2K mostly focused on expanding, getting these metal extractors up and running. It's very nice to see. Building up our economy. It's very nice. We're going to need this energy production. Maybe we'll see some energy converters coming out sooner or later. You see a rascal making it into the back line here, but it gets torn down, literally ripped apart at the molecular level by these construction bots in this construction turret. Now, Emlair has his work cut out for him. Greedomorph, 31 true skill, definitely very high up there on the board. Going to be holding against a very good player, and so it's really important that you hold your line very well here. I'd say even if you're playing as this lane, it's sometimes even better to push out of this and try and hold a wider area here just so that your teammate knows where you want to hold. And I think that'll give you just ever so slightly more of an advantage here where you definitely need it. The reason, in case you're unfamiliar with why this lane is so difficult to hold, is because of simply just the metal extractor math, right? We have basically 2 players worth of metal extractors here, and then all the metal extractors in between. So I'm not sure exactly how many that is. Maybe we'll call it 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15 metal extractors just for the frontline player, whereas Emlair is going to be working off of 3, 6, 7 at most. So the metal advantage is significantly skewed. Now that was a really nice pick here. Blew up all of those windmills, managed to get them to chain react using just some ticks. That is going to set My Brain Hurts back quite a bit. Still not done. Getting a few metal extractors here and there. Very, very nice to see. My Brain Hurts quite unhappy about this. I can imagine that's the appropriate response. I would be unhappy too. Make my brain hurt as well. Ticks aren't done though. They find more metal extractors and they're going to burst them down. My Brain Hurts now scrambling to deal with this as best as he can. Finally, a grunt will take care of this tick, and the commander will chase down those 2. But definitely well worth their weight in metal, those ticks were, out of Greedomorph. Now, Ollie2K no longer has a lab, so we're definitely going to be teching back here. At the very least, we're keeping that metal to ourselves and making sure that we use it to build stuff. Looks like we are going for an air lab. So we'll have to see where that goes. Imlair making sure that Greedomorph doesn't establish anything close to a forward base here. Doesn't want to give him an inch. I think it's a good idea. You definitely don't want to let him in. Otherwise your lane is going to fall. Baron Brax here likewise building up a bit of a front here. Although we do see him matched up against vehicles. In fact, both players here are going for vehicles. Those are very metal heavy, but on this map I don't hate it. I think there's definitely enough metal to fund vehicle production, so I think that's probably a good idea. We've got the vehicles coming out, and the bots are not going to be tremendous against those. You're going to trade rather inefficiently, just because of how much health those vehicles have, especially if we see some sort of a construction turret or some other source of repair up on the front lines to keep those vehicles fighting. I think we're definitely going to have some inefficiencies there from Baron Brax. A lot of T1 solar panels on this map. I don't quite understand that. I feel like 16 energy is definitely high enough, but maybe it's justified in how much metal that you actually can have on this map. Ollie 2000 has destroyed his commander. It's a fun little strategy you can do to self-destruct your commander in order for the 2000 metal tied up in its corpse. Use that to produce units of all sorts. And yeah, we can see we're actually stalling on energy here, which is, you know, good problems to have, I suppose. We made a few shurikens to help around with base defense, and right away they're going to head out this way to try and mop up some of these pawns that are pushing forward here. I think it's a great idea. Well played by him. Definitely finding ways to be useful while still ecoing is a true skill. And, you know, if you have true skill, your true skill is going to go up, and maybe it sounds like a dumb sentence now that it comes out of my mouth, but you understand what I mean. And of course, Ollie 2K, Ollie 2000 ranked 35 true skill overall. Very, very nice. Those pawns are indeed shut down, meaning the Greedomorph's aggression is going to be halted, at least for the time being. Now we can see a little bit of coaching. Alright, maybe move through here. Very nice. Now what does the economy look like for the back line of the blue team here? Well, we've got mostly T1 solar panels. Yeah, they're a little bit close together, and they're in the danger zone. One bombing run coming across this direction would close all those up, if not destroy most of them outright. So that's kind of risky to see. A lot of windmills clump together as well, but windmills are more of a necessity to clump them for space conservation. So I suppose I don't hate that, although one or two bombers could really devastate all three of these backliners right here. You know, you can imagine one bombing run coming through this way, one bombing run coming through this way, and one bombing run coming through this way. This is a little better, but once these finish up, they're all going to be clumped up, and a single bomber can detonate all of that with ease. Now, we don't see any tech yet. Yeah, it looks like we're starting tech 2 for purple here, for Shifter. We don't have much metal to fund it though, so maybe sacrificing the commander wouldn't be a bad idea, although it looks like he has other plans going to be using the commander's build power to make anti-air defenses. You know, I was talking about bombing runs, but I blatantly ignored all of this anti-air that's right here. Yeah, I guess that would be pretty tough to push through with bombers. The bombers can shrug off, I think it's 4 or 5 hits from those anti-air towers, but certainly with this many of them, those bombers would be in a lot of pain. They definitely wouldn't be able to bomb one and then go on to bomb the next. Those anti-air are probably a reaction to seeing the air lab out of Ollie 2000, those shurikens that paralyze the forces over there. But little did they know that that actually wasn't the plan at all. We're not going for an air lab. Those were just for early transport and shuriken production. So we actually don't have to worry about those bombers quite so much. I guess that's nice because it does mean that they wasted a little bit of metal on anti-air defenses where they didn't quite need to. Shurikens here, being invaluable at paralyzing these units and allowing the friendly incisors to mop them up without much contest. Very, very nicely done. Yeah, very, very, very nicely done. If you're playing backline and you're playing Cortex, maybe I should make a video about how to use Cortex shurikens effectively, but that's a great example of how to do it. You definitely want to pick your battles. You don't want to fight anything too big. You know, basically you want to pick battles where you know that your allied forces can come in and help clean up whatever the paralyzers can take down. Now, Greedomorph has quite a few maces over here. I believe these maces were given by Hugs, who produced them out of their bot lab. But Greedomorph now pushing forward with a bunch of Rocketeers, a bunch of light laser turrets being taken down from them, and the maces are getting quite a few hits in on this commander. Commander's getting real low. Might be the rover on Mars. interesting fact of the video. The rover on Mars, I believe it was Curiosity. It was designed to last. It was designed to last 3 years, I believe it was, or maybe it was 6, something like that. It was designed for like less than 10 years, and it ended up running for about 20 before it finally got trapped in a sand dune and was no longer able to charge its solar panels. And so its last message to us was the sun's getting real low, or something like that. It's really tragic. Another fun fact for you about that. There's some holes on the I believe it's the Curiosity rover, but there's the tires for the rover are sort of a hollow shape, you know, kind of like a cylinder. You might think of like a Pringles can or something like that, some sort of a hollow tube. And on the outside, on the skin of the outside of the tires, there are holes, like weirdly spaced holes along the outside of the tire. And I got the opportunity to meet with the director of the Deep Space Satellite Network, and he explained to me that those holes are actually Braille, and they spell out JPL because apparently, due to the legalities of interspace flight and interplanetary law, you're not allowed to brand anything that you send to a foreign planet. So they found a cheeky way of branding the surface of Mars with JPL every time those tires roll over something, which I think is just hilarious. I think the reason I'm so, you know, that comes to mind is because this terrain looks like Mars, right? We see this sort of red, dusty terrain. Definitely looks very Martian, with big hills. Barsoom, as the people of Mars from John Carter might say. Baron Brax pushing forward here, trying to stop these units from breaking his defensive line, putting his commander at risk though. And there's definitely enough units here, although they're all artillery, so as long as the commander keeps moving, he's actually in relative safety. His artillery are nastily clumped up. You know, 2 or 3 artillery shells could land here and take out 4 or 5 of those. Could definitely change the tide of things. We'll have to see how that goes in the future here. You know, this might not be a bad opportunity for Baron Brax to actually move forward here and self-destruct his comm just to take out this entire army. Maybe not the most efficient trade, but it would definitely slow down this entire push, especially if he could push it along this left-hand side here and then move it back into this area. He could detonate basically everything right here. There are some medium tanks that have broken through, and they actually find all of these artillery. And they're not going to have a hard time at all taking down a bunch of these artillery pieces. Well, unless you run right up against them. Never mind, I guess they are going to have a bit of a hard time. Hovercraft here, that's interesting. Potato going for a hovercraft platform. Interesting decision, tactically speaking. I'm not sure what the benefit of hovercraft is on this map. I guess the rocket launcher is pretty nice. It is a really good early game option against those light laser turrets. You see the rockets it fires are actually pretty devastating. You do quite a bit of damage. But yeah, we're quickly moving away from the T1 stage in the game here, so I think we better stop producing out of the hovercraft lab as quickly as we can. Maybe reclaim that and use it to fund a T2 lab at some point. Greedomorph here with a nice little forward operations base. Basically just trying to make sure that MLair doesn't push out of this containment here. Yeah, you'll notice that there's a marking here in the map for Greedomorph to fortify this area. I think that's a good idea for Greedomorph, and it would also be a tremendous opportunity for the enemy team to push units through here. They could wipe off a bunch of the mexes on the middle of the map here, and then they could maybe even snipe one of these bases, at least cripple it somewhat. I'm gonna clear the map though, try and keep things nice and tidy. Sheldons will finally hit the field for Baron Brax, which does mean that most of these units are going to be under artillery siege. Always difficult to deal with. Feels a bit impossible to deal with when you're being harassed by those long-range artillery that could just move backwards as they're firing on you. Very difficult to deal with, but I think you have all the tools here. The medium tanks are definitely the best option for that. You just have to catch them in a moment where they're not actually paying attention to where they're stepping, or if they're just standing still, and just make sure that you get those get the jump on these Sheldons here. Takes bravery, takes guts. Takes all that and more, kid. Better not do that too much or I'm going to injure my throat. Still recovering from that sore throat I had a few days ago. Hoping not to injure it further. My voices a many. Now we see some artillery shells coming down, raining on this tank. Poor guy, reduced to blisters and splinters and fragments of their former self. This guy survived. Yeah, construction bot survives, so this metal reclaim is going to go to them. Baron Brax under a tremendous amount of fire from these artillery, but again, they're all indirect fire weapons. So as long as you move your units around, they're not going to be fired upon. Yep, just step the Sheldons back, you'll be fine. You can see the Sheldons do a decent amount of damage against those. Every 4 or 5 shots, one of these things go down. And the real problem is that when they die, they leave behind their wreck, right? And then the others can't move forward about it, so it causes a bit of an issue. You see a few of the Sheldons brought down here, but definitely not an efficient number. It took way more of these artillery pieces to bring down these Sheldons, which is just going to be really difficult to deal with. We see some Scorpion batteries being built here by a T2 constructor from Ollie 2000. I think it's a great idea. Getting those T2 constructors up is really beneficial. I wonder if he's been giving them out to his team. I haven't paid attention to that, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's been handing out T2 constructors to his teammates in order to upgrade their metal extractors. Yeah, I'd hazard that he has because... Well, actually, now that I say it, I notice these are all Cortex things, but there's a Cortex lab here. So I'm not sure why this guy has a Armada construction bot. Oh, it's not his. It's from back here. Okay. Well, either way, we're seeing enough production here out of Ollie 2000 to be helpful to his team, which is the name of the game, right? If you're not going to win it for yourself, win it for your teammates. Sheldon's trying to contest these Hounds. Difficult matchup because those Hounds are pretty sturdy. The Sheldons are pretty fast. And the Hounds, you know, it's kind of a dance because the Hounds can't really fight back against the Sheldons because the Sheldons can just walk away while they're firing. Unless the Hounds are under radar and they have radar vision, then they will actually be able to get closer than the Sheldons can, or than the Sheldons need to in order to fire. So it's kind of an interesting trade-off there. I think it's quite entertaining to see. We see a lot of anti-nukes coming up. I think that's great, being cautious about that. You never know when your enemy is going for some sort of nuke rush, especially with how much I've put out content helping people get ready and get used to doing that, right? You never know. Always being cautious so that Brightworks' bad influence on the meta doesn't spoil your day with a nuclear explosion. I'm sure I've caused plenty of misery with those nuke rush videos. But if you'd like to know how those nuke rushes work, feel free to go check those out. Leave a comment, leave a like, and subscribe if you really want to. We're getting way up there now. We're almost to 700 subscribers, which is phenomenal. I guess the next goal I really aim for is 1,000, right? That's really the big milestone. So I guess that's what we'll push for in these next coming days. I've noticed, right? I get a ton of analytics. I've talked about this in some of the other videos, but I get a ton of analytics about where these videos are seen from and who's subscribing, who's commenting, all that sort of stuff. So it's really fun for me to see like who's the most excited about the new content whenever it comes out. It's really funny. But yeah, if you want to show your support, feel free to go down there and subscribe. I can't imagine getting up to 1,000 subscribers. I really didn't think it would happen. The whole point of this channel was to educate people, try and help people, help the new people that were trying to pick up bar and felt really intimidated about how difficult it is to get into this game. Try and help them feel a bit more comfortable stepping into the game. That was really it. That was all I imagined, and I figured I'd commentate some games because I enjoy it. Some of my favorite content creators are commentators, casters, people like Loco TV, people like Winter Gaming. He's been putting out more content about this stuff more recently, which is really nice. All that kind of fun stuff, and now it's growing to a point where I'm like, oh, maybe this is an actual thing I want to keep doing, and all because of you, lovely folk. Anyway, looking at the front lines here, we do see these Sheldons have grown in enough numbers to be quite harassing. The Bull acting as the vision here for the Sheldons, allowing them to push forward and lay down artillery fire. Bull goes down. But we do have radar bots here to put out fire. Oh, we have a spy bot coming out by Potato. Spy bot and some recluses. So maybe the plan is to hide up on the mountains or something. Oh, the spy bot's moving forward. Is he gonna EMP? He's got an EMP, right? Yeah. Do it. Yes. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. What a great play there. Look at that. We have how many Sheldons is that? We have 12 Sheldons completely paralyzed here. That's more than half the army. That's like 90% of this army that was completely here. Yeah, the medium tanks are jumping in on it now. Oh, and they collapse on that army. That was beautiful. What a phenomenal play right there. Oh my goodness, yeah. Absolutely outstanding. Well done, Potato. I can see why you submitted the replay now. It was that, wasn't it? That was the play. That was an outstanding play right there. Absolutely phenomenal. Paralyzed like most of that army, like 90% of that army, and allowed medium tanks to just effortlessly sweep in and wipe away all of that, all those units, all those Sheldons that were harassing for so long. Phenomenal play. I absolutely love to see that. That's one of my favorite parts about the Armada toolkit is all the creative ways you can use the units, and of course Cortex has the spy bots too, and they can do the same thing. But it means more to me when I see an Armada player, a young Armada player, blossoming into their EMP heritage. Absolutely phenomenal. Now we do see a bunch of Stormbringers out here. I guess that's what Ollie 2000 has been working on, building up some bombers. What are we going for here? It looks like mostly the frontline defenses. We're blowing up a lot of anti-air turrets. We're damaging the commander. We're taking a lot of fire. Yeah, I don't know. That was a really unconcentrated attack, I feel like. And that didn't really have the information about where exactly he wanted to put all this. So not very important there. We do see Greenomorph eating up this commander. He gets the entire commander, actually. That's very nice. Looks like that must have been Imler, however you pronounce that. I apologize if I'm brutally mispronouncing that. But does manage to wipe that player mostly off the map. There's a single construction bot back here. So I suppose we could see a rebuilding. For now, it looks like he's basically walked away from the computer. Tough to see, tough to see. At the very least, resign so that your teammates can have your stuff. Oh no, still in it. There we go. That's commendable. I love to see it. Yeah, start up a bot lab. Start rebuilding. Vehicle plant. Whatever you gotta do. Yeah, very well done. Oh, okay. Unfortunate. Tried to do it again, but couldn't get the didn't get the timing quite right. It is tricky. A little bit of a difficult one. Oh, we see a recluse moving into the back line here. That's kind of nice. Oh, there's a Starlight though. I think the Starlight will kill it with one hit. If it hits it though. Starlight, yeah, really dangerous. Yeah, the Starlight burns it down. Those Starlights are absolutely brutal. We have more of those. Yeah, we have them on the front line here. Excellent siege option. Very, very high damage output. Sort of a spike of damage. They're sort of the vehicle equivalent to the sharpshooter, the sniper bot for the Armada T2. Definitely an excellent option if you're looking for something to burn down those early T3 units or melt through those heavy tanks like the Bulls or the Tigers or anything like that. This is a move in here from Malboro. Love that name. Very tasty, very delicious. Yeah, the tanks clashing, jousting with each other. Jousting tanks. When's the last time you've seen that? And oh, that was nice. We did see a paralysis there, paralyzing unit, probably a spy, based on how long those are paralyzed for. Do we have? We just don't have the units to push in there and harass that though, unfortunately. I see the vision now. I see Potato's vision. He's looking for the clusters of units and paralyzing them to death. It's a great idea. One of the great options you have as a Armada player, all the varieties of EMP units that you can use. Definitely not a bad idea at all. We see hounds coming out now. We see snipers in this bottom right hand side. Ooh, being harassed by a Arbiter though. That Arbiter just getting free shots off. Every one of those is dealing quite a lot of damage. I'm not sure how he has the vision here. Maybe he just saw it with some other unit. It's just dumbfiring. Oh no, there's a spy bot right here. Duh. My bad. Yeah, there's a spy bot right here, which is going to give him plenty of vision, so he can actually tell what the heck is going on here. Oh, a sniper accidentally shoots it. I think the sniper was aiming for one of these Sheldons back here, and it accidentally shot the spy bot. That's unfortunate. Yeah, a lot of welders, a lot of snipers. Yeah, there's a pretty good unit composition. We've got the compass, the smuggler, which is the radar and radar jammer bot. We've got sharpshooters, and we've got welders. It's going to cover a lot of your bases. You don't have anti-air on there, so maybe one Archangel after all that might be nice. But aside from that, you're looking pretty good with that unit composition. It's a ton of damage that you can put out, like bursts of damage that you can put out, but it also has enough. I guess you would call it sustained damage, enough AoE damage that you would with the welders and their chain shot, you might actually be able to deal with any sort of swarming that your enemy does. Very, very nice. I do like to see that. Another push coming forward here. Slightly higher tier units, but they don't really have the mass. There's not enough units here. A lot of bulls moving forward. A lot of starlights behind them. These starlights are really devastating. You see these bulls, they just melt them down so quickly. Those bulls are 950 metal each, and to watch it go away in just a few shots from these starlights is absolutely devastating. These pit bulls are pulling their weight here, trying to do their very best. And a lot of the starlights do end up going down eventually. But they did quite a lot of damage. Ah, T3 units out from purple here now. Those are going to do phenomenally. These catapults are devastating. One of my favorite units. I love any kind of unit that just throws a huge barrage of missiles or any kind of, any sort of artillery piece in a big circle. I love the what's the T2? What's it called? The Tremor. This bad boy. The Apocalypse on wheels. the absolute death to any area on the map that it's pointed at. I absolutely love that vehicle because it's just so devastating to anything that walks into its field of fire. A lot of these welders moving through here having a bit of a hard time with these tanks. They put up a better fight than the bots do, just because of how much health they have. I wonder if they're resistant here. It doesn't look like it. They just have a lot of health. And the welders also aren't firing, which is, of course, not great. Last welder says, oh crap, I'm dead. Down it goes. I'd love to see snipers here with their cloak activated, tell them to hold fire, and with cloak activated, and just move them around into the enemy base. That's a trick that I absolutely love, is when you can sneak a single sniper into the enemy's base, and you just have it fire every once in a while, and for, seemingly out of nowhere, they suddenly something explodes. They look back and everything's gone for some reason. I think it's absolutely hilarious. One of my favorite plays available from the Armada playlist, the Armada Toolkit. More spy bots moving forward here. Oh, he saves it. Very nice. That pro level micro right there. Micro God. Micro Jackson. I wouldn't mind seeing him paralyze this whole front line. Looks like we're going to use him for vision, actually. I don't hate that either, of course. We do have starlights coming out here now, which are going to start burning down these sumos very nicely. These catapults, man, so much damage right there. A nuke? Was that a nuke that just... Yeah, it was a nuke that just landed. Huh, interesting. I suppose there is no anti-nuke there. They managed to just put it right on the edge of the anti-nuke that's available, right here. Very, very nicely done. These catapults burning down this entire base, one shot at a time. Well, one burst of 100 shots at a time, I suppose, probably more likely. We see mass welder production coming out here from Hugs. Very nicely done. We also see some T1 fighters coming out as well. Gonna be good against Scoutcraft, I suppose. Maybe if there's a contingent of a few bombers, gonna be good against those as well. Very, very nice to see. This front line is starting to stagnate a little bit. Let's speed it up here, go up to 2x speed, and we'll just see how long it takes for this to get all burned down. Catapults here firing on this base. They managed to take down that advanced vehicle plant. Very, very nicely done. It's just exactly the right selection of unit for this. You can't see. I did a sort of ring finger nice salute there. Absolutely the right selection for the siege unit that you should have here, because a lot of that was just T1 defenses that were all spaced out a lot. And of course the catapult does a phenomenal job against that sort of defensive setup. So I think it was a great job. Oh, the poor Tremor went down. Yeah, so these catapults they filled the role, exactly the role that was needed of them. And I think with that, it's going to be a pressing lead. All those welders pushed through the back here. Ooh, those bombers actually came in and did quite a lot of work. Yeah, those welders were grouped up really clusteredly. That's not a word, is it? They were grouped up in a big old cluster, so they were able to be targeted down by those bombers quite effectively. Bombers come out here to take down a shield generator. Kind of a interesting strategic choice there. I'm not sure what that has to do with any of this. Oh, we see some Karganath trying to move forward here. Ooh, most of them bursted down by these tanks. Wow, those Tigers can aim really high up. I never realized that. Yeah, they actually managed to catch all those Karganaths, and that is unfortunate. That was a really good play, trying to move some Karganath around on this side. But they do get seen. I'm going to try and do it again. I hope we do it again. I think it's a really cool move. I'd love to see some more of that. We see Weber's out now, one of my favorite units. We should probably keep our eyes over here on this pushing forward. Oh, sorry about that. Pushing forward here on this southern front. So we do see a catapult here. Always dangerous to keep one of these catapults in your base, because if they fire on any of these units, it's going to be a lot of friendly fire damage. Oh, yeah. There it is. Yikes. Yeah, those catapults are dangerous. Dangerous to keep around. Keeping a gorilla in a room full of mirrors. You're gonna have a lot of broken glass everywhere. Yeah, and I think the waves of units here pushing down for the blue team are just gonna be too much. Looks like another EMP paralysis right here. Very nicely done. Looks like Potato has found his niche, and I can't blame him. That's an extremely satisfying feeling when you get those when you get those EMPs off on a big cluster of valuable units. It feels like you've absolutely won the battle. And for the most part, if you have the units to follow it up, even better. And, that push right there just wiped away a big chunk of the defenses that were holding this line here. Shivas are out now from Yellow, but there's just too many players leaned up against him at this point. We've got, basically 4 players playing against Yellow, who's the only one who's expanded their economy to a big enough scale to actually hold this front line in any meaningful degree. The Shivas doing their absolute best to fend off these Czars and these Bulls and Tigers, all this different unit production coming out here. But his right-hand neighbors, his eastern neighbors, have already fallen to the blue armada. This is a really dangerous push, really difficult to stop. The welders followed by a bunch of snipers, because even if you throw a bunch of T3 units in front of this, those snipers are going to burst down those T3 units immediately. Like without a question, they're just going to pull those snipers, or pull those T3 units apart super quickly. So it's really difficult to deal with this push coming towards your base. I think the best option is probably what Potato was doing. Oh, Yellow goes up in smoke right there. I think the best option was what Potato was doing, try and paralyze some of these units so that you can jump on top of them. But excellently played, well played. Great game from the blue team here. Red team tried their very best, but in the end, they could not hold up under the pressure. Let's take a look at these graphs here. Yeah, okay, interesting. So Yellow actually outscaled every other player in the game. But you can see the 3 next economies were for blue. So when those 3 were leaned up against him, there just was not anything else he could do. There's a little rhyme for you for the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, please take the second that it takes to subscribe down there below. That really means a lot. I'm really going to push for that 1,000 subscribers, try and get that done. I think that'd be phenomenal. Plus, YouTube will start paying me, so that'd be great. Anyways, I'll see you next time in the next Beyond All Reason video.